Okay, hey everyone. I am going to be recording a short video going over a new art piece that I just finished. Basically a bunch of portraits of characters coming out of one of the notebooks that I recently completed. This is a notebook that I've been working on since 2019 and just completed in 2026. So just over about 6 years of working on this, developing a bunch of interesting characters. Basically, I've taken the characters out of the notebook and did a little spread of portraits, little avatars for each of the characters in a simple black and white kind of manga style. I'm just going to play this in the background and then talk over my thoughts and maybe walk through a little bit of the sketchbook as well. My purpose for making this video is just to have this time-lapse playback here for people to see, and then also have a little bit of some recording around the notebook and the characters themselves. I have some notes here on sort of the context surrounding some of the designs of the characters, but I would like, the character designs to speak for themselves for the most part. We'll see what I can gather from here. So as the video is going with the time lapse in the background, I'm gonna pull up some pages on the notebook for you to see. Hopefully this is visible. So this is the page, the cover page in the sketchbook, where I put the little ink sketches of these character avatars. You can see that are kind of scattered around the page. I was working around a previous drawing on the page, but that about covers like the little ink sketches. And what I did is I took these ink sketches, I took a photograph of them, pulled them up into Clip Studio, and then started editing and refining it. So the time lapse you're seeing right now is basically me going through that process. I skipped over the first step. The first step was getting the scan in, reorganizing the portraits in an orderly rows and columns. There were a total of 7 rows, I think, and then about 9 heads per column. Some rows were a little short on characters, so I did end up adding a few more original characters afterwards. And then you can see the process here. Basically, I had the ink base in the background, and then I did a blue pen pass sketching over the original sketches. In the sketchbook, I have I did write in the table of contents here. So the lectern sketchbooks have a table of contents. First 2 pages in the sketchbook are table of contents. So when I was reviewing the sketchbook, I put in this this table list after the sketchbook was completed. But basically went through the sketchbook and then figured out like notable pages in which I had interesting drawings and interesting characters that I could name and write about. And you can see here, I wrote the numbers for the pages and then a couple of the summary of ideas of like what the drawings were about. So you can see first 13 pages, there was some rural fantasy, Twilight elves, mythical baroque, and maybe we'll go through some of these pages to show you in a bit. And then on the second half here, there's more and more lines of table of contents. Hopefully I didn't spoil any interesting ideas here. These drawings go way back, so it's really interesting. Just go through this and see like what the ideas I had were like back in 2019, and then sort of how they developed further and further along. Towards the end of the sketchbook, I definitely was trying to rush through it to get the pages filled out and completed. Try to do as many more interesting character design ideas as I could. I think the final stretches of like going through a sketchbook and drawing is really interesting. It's a really interesting experience for me, at least, because when I start a sketchbook, it's very much a practice, like a deliberate practice of sitting down, getting inspired, musing around different ideas, and then putting that to pencil and ink, and then really being very deliberate about it. Like especially in the beginning of a sketchbook, I want each page to look really awesome and really have fun with the idea exploration, and also with the different utensils and pens and different pencils and inks that I'm using, right? So if I go through a couple of these earlier pages, you can see I switch pens a lot. I'm throwing down a lot of different things from day to day. As it gets towards the end of the sketchbook, I'm kind of counting down how many more pages I have left to finish before the sketchbook is finished, so to say. So it does become a little more of a rush job to try to put as many ideas down on paper as possible to fill up the space. So you can see here in the video I've already gone through about 3 lines of line work on these characters. Maybe I want to call out some of the earlier characters that I worked on. In the first row, I'm seeing like a military character on the top left, and then some interesting designs around the elves towards the middle. But we can maybe take a look at some of the characters that appear here. The first row, 5th character across, that's one of the elvish characters on this page 3 in the sketchbook. Here I've designed a elf with a long scarf, and I really liked the scarf design here, so I tried to capture that in the little portrait avatar. The little scarf with the stripes going vertical. And then the page immediately after, that's the character to the right of the elf. We're looking at maybe a more noble aristocrat character with a high collar and some of the ruffles and the colorful ornamentation of her regal dress, right? As you can see in the comparison, the little avatar, I tried to get the core idea of the character down, right? It's a very simple rendering of the character, but it's definitely it's not like a one-to-one transfer of the character from the sketchbook itself, right? In the sketchbook, the character is a lot more detailed. They're more fully featured, and so on and so forth. But I do try to capture that essence of the character in the little portrait. Maybe one of the other characters that I want to show off. Let me see. Character on the farthest right. How do we pull this up to the webcam? Okay. And then in the second row, one of my favorite designs here. Second row, fourth character. I have her labeled here as the light sword fencer. This would be here on the rightmost page here. That character with the long bangs and the shoulder guard. And then immediately after her is the Sparrow Mender. He has more like the feathery cloak and the shoulder coverings over here. I really like the patterns on her shirt. And then I'd like to go over some of these pages here. There's a lot of chibi characters I was experimenting on. This is another type of style that I like to explore more in the future. I think this type of chibi kind of works really well for a video game. Second row, seventh character on the right, I believe. The Clover Nurse. Has somewhat of a wistful magic to her. And the hairbands spread out in a little clover, four-leaf clover pattern. One of my favorite designs. And you can see here I tried to do a little mini portrait, mini avatar of her as well. And this kind of is what inspired this project here, to do all these portraits. Sort of taking the character design and simplifying it, trying to make it as readable as possible, and like a simple drawing. I have some cat characters here that I didn't do portraits of, but probably in the future I'll do like a series on cat portraits. And we're coming up close to the end of the video here for the time lapse. As you can see, like it's about 13 minutes in total in this replay, time lapse replay. But I went through about 3 iterations of the original sketch, then the blue line drawings, and then the black sort of final inking iteration here that you see. And even in the inking iteration, like I did about 3 passes across all these characters to make sure that they were as fully rendered as they could be for this project. In total, I ended up with 63 characters, I believe. There's 9 characters across. You'll see through an error here. It doesn't want to open the video again. Strangely. But it was basically 9 characters across, 7 characters down. I'm gonna do this. I'm trying to pause it here so that the video can be seen. Yes, I want to remove that. Okay. So I'm just pulling that picture back up so that we can talk over this final image. Basically, I was saying there's 63 characters. They're all going to be sort of scattered across different stories and different ideas that I have, maybe different game ideas, different story ideas that I've been working on. Some more oriented towards science fiction, inspired by things like Ghost in the Shell. You can see there's a character here on the fifth row across that. You know, she's wearing the visor. That's similar and inspired from like a visor from those cyberpunk shows and cyberpunk manga. Some stories around more fantasy elements. Those are probably going to be the ones with the elvish characters, the fantasy warriors and fantasy fighters. And then I have a bunch of characters that are more based around magic as well. So there's a couple characters in here, maybe I can call them out, that are more magic focused. Which ones were those? I believe we have a couple on the second row. A couple of the early characters on the third row as well. Would be more of the mage-like characters. Yeah, so maybe we can spend the rest of the time here flipping through a couple more of the sketchbook itself to make some more comparisons from the original sketch to the avatar portraits. Let me do a quick flip through to see which ones are super interesting comparisons. Might even be easier to go backwards here, the way I'm flipping through this sketchbook. Here. Fantasy fighter. He's represented in the second to last row, first one across, with her hair tied up in a ponytail and the little swirl designs on her shoulder pads. And then next to her is all these characters, especially her. Sorry. She has a crazy spiky hair going on that I really like. I'm really working on those like V-shaped points. Try to get those pointy angles into the character designs that I'm working on. This is certainly a weird one. This is one of the characters in the center of the drawing. So fourth row, sixth character across. It's a little bit of a crazy sketch that I did here. ended up looking kind of like a bird shape on her head. So the hair is going a little more crazy than what a regular like ahoge might be. Trying to push the effect of the hair going crazy as much as possible. This is another like light, loose sketch that turned into a little character design here on the last row there. Kind of fun sketch here with the warrior's armor with the headband and the banner and the hair tied up. I really like the pattern on the headband that I worked on there. Alright, this is one of the mage characters. Here we go. She's on row 5 and 4th character across. I think that's right. This character design is kind of based on one of my older projects with a character who could shift between different colors. So in this variant, she would be shifting between the different elements along with the color change as well. And that would be more of like a magical type of character. Here's the exploration that I did with the cyber visor. One thing that I really want to try out with her character here is having a little cloak that has the digital symbols coming down like rain. Here's the iPad. Pirate. Another mage. Not sure if he made it into this spreadsheet here, but that's a magical spell book. I'm not sure she translated perfectly onto the little avatar version. You can see she has the star shape symbol on her forehead there. That's one of the characters in the center. 4th row, 5th across. But the face shape in the little chibi version is a little different than what I had originally imagined here. The essence of the character, I believe, is there. Here's another variant that I was exploring. You can see it's putting out couple different versions of the cross-shaped scar. And then let's wrap up here. This is a page with a couple of different characters that I have. One of the main mages that I've been working on. She's an orb mage. Character here is more of a scholarly mage. You can find them both on that 4th row there. yeah, so that's a good place to wrap. This was the green sketchbook. Really like this green color, but this is the green sketchbook right now. Really just finished this 2026, and then this little portraits project was my way of like wrapping up that sketchbook, taking all those ideas that I've had over the last 5-6 years and condensing it down to just one sheet summary. I can take a look at this grid of characters and just get reminded of everything that I've designed over the last half decade. So it was a really fun project. The next thing I'm actually working on is taking some of these characters and then doing full character sheets with them. So doing the full character design, like with the costume, full body, fully rendered, and then working on backstory, some lore, and then also drawing a couple of character expressions to go along with it. So I'm in the middle of working through the first character right now, the one starting with the one on the top left. And then once I do that, I'm gonna go through and maybe selectively work through a couple of other characters when I find time to do so. If I was thinking if I were to go through and do every single character in this portrait sheet, there's 63 characters, so that would take probably over an entire year to complete. Given my current pace, at about a few days per character to get a full sheet illustration done. Maybe I can speed things up a little bit as I get better and better and more comfortable with drawing in this style. But at least for the first project I've worked on so far, I think it's taken me about, let's say, like 6-7 hours of drawing and sketching and editing, spread out over a couple of days when I can find time. So it would be a really big project to tackle if I wanted to push through and get a drawing, a full render of every single one of these characters. So that's probably not in the cards right now, but I would like to be working through these probably on a case-by-case basis then. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. This is basically my big 2026 art project, I would say. Like I found a fun way to take the things that I've worked on, the character designs, the stories, and the world building, and then make a first pass progress towards building these projects out. So I think next thing I'm going to do is pretty much that. So maybe sort these characters out, figure out which ones I want to work on for my initial character sheets, and then knock a few of those out to get things moving. So yeah, thanks for sitting here and listening through my talk and watching through the portrait time lapse. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you liked it. Drop a comment if you have any specific characters you want to hear more about. If you're curious about or like a particular portrait, let me know. I'd really love to hear your feedback to my work here. Thanks and bye.